About a year ago, I posted on Instagram about this dark walnut stain that I had made and had a lot of people interested on how I made it. Well, it's taken me a whole year to make it because, well, the tree only produces walnuts every year and I didn't record it last year. So this year I've recorded it. I wanted to share with you. It's basically a DIY video to show you how to make this walnut stain. There's a couple things to point out really quick before we jump right into the video. Please watch the whole thing before you go to make it, because this variation that I did in this video gives you a result that's not a really dark, rich color. If you want a dark, rich color, you're going to need to find walnuts that are already really decaying and already to the point where you need to wear gloves to pick them up. The ones that I picked up in this video and used in this video weren't at that stage, so they produced a much lighter walnut stain color. So just with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So the very first thing that you want to do is gather walnuts, and for that you want to find the walnuts that are pretty much going completely black or already totally black. And I gather about 35 to 40 of them. Then you want to take a 4-quart pot of water, fill it up halfway, and then set it on the stove and turn the heat all the way up to begin boiling it. While it's heating up, this is when I just go ahead and add the walnuts, and basically I'm adding all of them in there, about 40 or so. And where you see it right now, you want to make sure that the water covers them all. That's why you see me a lot of times pushing these back down into the water. And then once it's started to actually boil, that's when you want to start your timer for 45 minutes. And while the timer is running for 45 minutes, you'll want to also continuously move them around to make sure the ones on the top get completely submerged in the water at times, and just to kind of check it every once in a while. We're about 5 minutes away from this being done, and I just wanted to show you the water level has dropped back down to about half of the 4-quart pot, and that's what you're kind of looking for. And then also you should see a lot of this filmy stuff starting to build up, and that's proof to you that it's starting to look pretty good. But the biggest test is you want to take a spoon, dip it in there, and it should look like that, really black. If you can see your spoon through it, it's not boiled enough, or maybe you don't have enough walnuts. This is pretty much ready, but I'm going to let it go for another 5 minutes. Then we'll turn off the burner, let this cool down for a little while, and then we'll strain it and put it in jars. Okay, turn it off and move it off to the side. Let it cool down for a little bit, and then we will drain it, get rid of the walnuts, and then test it out. Okay, this has cooled down pretty good. So I've got my jar here. I have made this before, and got a little funnel and a strainer. Now the strainer is actually a part of a set. I bought it at the grocery store. It works great, real good. It's just cheap plastic. So we'll pour that there. Then the next step, you got to be a little easier. In fact, you could transfer this into a smaller bowl and pour it in. Be a lot more controlled, because as you can tell, there's actually not a whole lot in there. It's amazing how much water gets evaporated when you're boiling. But basically we just pour this in nice and slowly and allow that strainer just to catch any particulates that might have came in when we put the walnuts in the water. Alright, so the moment's come to give this thing a test. Now I've let this dry, or not let this dry, I've let this cool down. One of the biggest key things with this is you should not notice like a rotten smell. It shouldn't start getting rotten. If it does, it means you probably didn't let it boil long enough. But as you can see, this is all I ended up with out of that pot. So let's go ahead and apply this. Something to remember, since this is a water base and we made this homemade, it is definitely going to be a lot more liquefied than your typical stains. I like to use Rust-Oleum, and it's very thick, and so it will not be like that. That will be something you just will not run into. So that was a piece of pine. Now we're going to try it on a piece of poplar. Okay, so just a couple things to note on the poplar. So here's what the poplar looks like with the stain. Here's what it looks like without the stain. It's not a really dark stain. It's very much like a watered down stain. It does work. In fact, you know, you let that dry and then come back, put another coat on. It'll work. It works for really good subtle things. I mean, this is a hardwood, but looking at the pine, here's the pine before. I don't have, I mean, this is the pine after. I don't have a before, but there's the white edge. I stained the other side before with something else, but and you can tell it's got more of a yellowish look. It's not as dark, but once again, it's just not going to give you a really dark, rich color, but it definitely gives you that that walnut color. And if you want to get it darker, just keep doing layers and layers. Now we'll say if you find walnuts that are really rotten already, they'll actually produce a walnut stain that is actually much richer and darker versus the ones that we did in this video. So I would be on the lookout more for those if you want to get something that's much richer. But this gives you the versatility if you want to make something that's not really extreme, just very subtle. You can do it this way. In fact, you can make another batch with the very rotted walnuts and you'd get a really richer tone, so you'd have kind of a two-tone walnut thing going on. So guys, thank you for watching this video. If this is something you enjoyed, please let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up. If you're going to go ahead and try this, let me know. I mean, right now in this time of year, we've got tons of walnuts falling off our trees. So if you're watching this during those fall months and this is something you do, let me know how yours turns out. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. And be sure to hit that little bell icon so you're notified of every video that I put out right when I put it out. So thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time right here in the workshop.